Debates often matter. With us for a quick read on how this one landed, we're joined by Erin Kelly. She is the CEO of Advanced Symbolics Inc. and helps translate what the artificial intelligence known as Polly sees Ontario voters talking about. And Erin joins us now from Washington, D.C. Hi, Erin.
Hi, Nam.
It's great to see you. So when it comes to the winner of the debate, who does Polly see as the winner?
Well, I can tell you that Polly is seeing that of the people who want to replace Doug Ford, they all felt tonight that Doug Ford won this debate.
Well, then who lost?
Well, it's interesting. So, I mean, that's how people felt. We definitely saw, this was almost like watching the Leafs in Game 7. I mean, the people who wanted to see Doug Ford replaced wanted to see either Andrea Horvath or Stephen Del Duca or perhaps Mike Schreiner score that gotcha, get that goal. And there just wasn't that moment in this debate. So Doug Ford won almost by default. Now, we did see at the end, Stephen Del Duca definitely did better than Andrea Horvath. And if we were to look just at the likability of the leaders, Mike Schreiner was a clear favorite, especially in his performance in the healthcare section when he said, Mr. Ford, have you talked to a nurse lately? How disrespected they feel. We saw a huge bump for Mike Schreiner at that moment, and it stayed with him. So he did really well personally, but of course, people feel they don't want to split the vote. And you saw at the end, Doug Ford very cleverly started to promote Mr. Schreiner and say that he could work with him because, of course, that would split that vote. So the progressive people watching tonight really felt that their team didn't come out as a clear winner and, in fact, might split the vote. And that is what Polly is seeing, that Doug Ford won by default.
Well, just following up what you just said on how Mr. Schreiner performed, which moments from the debate generated the most conversation on social media?
Well, so there were a few moments when Doug Ford and Andrea Horvath were both criticizing Del Duca for his past performance under Kathleen Wynne's government. He tried to skate past that, and that didn't work for him. People saw that. When he kept saying, Andrea Horvath, you're living in the past, and then he and Horvath argued against each other. That was a low point, and that brought up Doug Ford. And Doug Ford also played that against Mike Schreiner. When he said, you were a disaster, you left me without any PPE when I took over. It's your fault that COVID was as bad as it was in the beginning. So a lot of the highlights were, in fact, lowlights, if you will. But they all seemed to, whether it was Horvath and Del Duca arguing against each other, they all seemed to favor Mr. Ford in the end.
Well, you mentioned that Mr. Ford essentially won the debate by default. Right now, is the debate translating into a loss of support for any of the parties by vote switchers or other Ontarians?
I think what it did is the people who are wanting to see Mr. Ford replaced, we saw toward the end of this debate, they were moving their votes to Mr. Del Duca and away from Andrea Horvath. So we saw tonight, and by the way, this debate had twice the engagement on the election as anything in the previous week. So people were tuned in. So it was a good night for Mr. Del Duca in that respect, that we saw people saying, okay, we know who we're going to put our vote toward, because people were wondering whether they should go with Horvath or Del Duca. And Mr. Del Duca did come in second place in that sense.
Well, the issues that have been coming up in this election are affordability and the cost of living. Who had the most convincing talking points on addressing those issues?
It was in the economy. It was clearly Mr. Ford. So none of the, Mr. Del Duca spoke a lot about his 19-point plan, but Mr. Ford did a good job of saying, look, you had that opportunity when you were in government before, you didn't do it right, and people believed that. And so when it came to the economy and affordability, people felt that Mr. Ford had the best plan. Despite the $10 billion 413, we didn't see that really got any points for Mr. Del Duca or Ms. Horvath.
Over the past 2 years, as we've navigated this pandemic, education is something that has come up a lot. After this debate, who do voters believe can meet the needs of teachers and families on the education front?
We found Del Duca got a bit of the edge in the education front. But it wasn't a slam dunk. I'd say in education, Mr. Ford held his own and kept his own supporters. And Mr. Del Duca probably took some from Ms. Horvath.
And what about healthcare? Who came out on top on that?
Mike Schreiner, interestingly enough, because we saw the two, Andrea Horvath really missed an opportunity there because that was her. I mean, she's been promoting healthcare a lot, but she got into too much of an argument with Del Duca on that topic, and Mike Schreiner came up the middle looking like the reasonable person, that was the moment when he said, "Have you talked to a nurse lately?" And he kept hitting home that you can't fire nurses, you can't invest in the infrastructure, but then not invest in the staff. So that moment really went to Mr. Schreiner.
And Paulie can pick up emotion. What emotion did Paulie pick up on those conversations?
Now, the emotion was really interesting. That one was a bit nuanced because people didn't like the negativity between Del Duca and Horvath. So I would say it would have been a clearer win for Mr. Del Duca had he been less argumentative, perhaps. That's where Mr. Ford did very well. He didn't interrupt people. He looked into the camera. He waited for his turn, whereas the other two were a little bit more argumentative that way. So that emotion was negative, but the facts of the debate did not stir people's emotions too much, and that was the problem. I mean, nobody was feeling, yeah, this person's got a great plan. Yes, I'm putting my faith in this person. It was more, okay, if I don't want Mr. Ford to win, where do I put my vote? And I'm just going to go with whoever seems to be less bad, almost. There wasn't that inspiring portion in this debate.
We saw anti-racism take center stage in the last quarter of the debate, which focused on leadership. How are Ontarians reacting to that section of the debate?
That section, so this is where Mr. Del Duca actually started to make up some ground. They felt that, now again, not a lot. There's a feeling among people that not enough is being done, and that there was a lot of frustration we saw during that time, especially with what's going on in the States right now, and the London family. But we didn't see anybody come out ahead on that debate. It was almost like a missed opportunity.
You mentioned earlier on that Mr. Ford won the debate by default. Did he do what he needed to do in this debate to maintain his lead?
Yes, because that's all he had to do. He had to look reasonable. He had to look like he had a good plan, that you could trust him to be competent. I mean, he's running on competence. I got you through COVID. I'm opening up the economy. I got the vaccines out early, especially for the third wave. Healthcare is a mess, but he can blame that on Del Duca's previous government and say, I'm now investing. I know what needs to be done because I've just lived through it. I was at hospital, dealing with the healthcare system every day. So that's what he's running on, and he maintained that tonight. That there was no reason for people to feel that there was no gotcha there. The other three who were attacking him did not make any leeway.
And what about the NDP's leader, Andrea Horvath? What should she focus on moving forward?
Well,
that was a deep sigh.
Yeah, we're just seeing throughout this campaign, she's losing momentum. She needs to have a very more forward-looking platform, is what I would say. People were saying she was spending too much time attacking Mr. Ford and attacking Mr. Del Duca from 2018. That did work in some parts. It was more effective when Mr. Ford did it. She needs to spend more time saying what Andrea Horvath, would do. What is her plan? Can she pay for it? Because that's always the criticism of the NDP. But she's been in opposition for several years now, so she's had enough time to observe the government and to have a forward-looking plan. And that's the frustration people have, is that she's not focusing on, she doesn't have that 19-point plan for affordability, for example, that Del Duca was able to talk about tonight. And people really liked that.
Well, speaking of Stephen Del Duca, how did he perform tonight?
He didn't perform, he wasn't a star, that's for sure. But again, if for people who are frustrated with the Ford government and just want change, we saw that some of those votes tonight seem to be going from Horvath to Del Duca. And it's really just more of a who's less bad. It wasn't like a, this guy's got the right plan.
And finally, how should Mike Schreiner position the Ontario Greens to move their vision forward?
Well, Mike Schreiner, like I said, he came across very well tonight. People really liked him. We definitely saw people saying, why can't he be the leader of, they liked him as a person. To position himself, I think he needs to talk about affordability. He can't just be about climate change, because right now people are really, really concerned. And he wasn't just about that tonight. He did talk about affordability. But I think a lot of his plan, the Greens are obviously, people associate them almost exclusively with climate change, and people don't have confidence that they can form government. So people, unfortunately, we're seeing, don't want to put their vote there when it looks to be so close, when Doug Ford is close to getting majority government.
Erin, thank you so much for your time. We're going to see you back on the show next week. We really do appreciate your insights.
Thanks, Nam.
Travel well.
Thanks.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.